All right. So we are here with Alix Fox from the Lexington Symphony. This is our next installment of Lexington Learns. And Alix has graciously agreed to talk to me today about how the symphony has adjusted their fall season, well, their 2020-21 season, to adapt to the new world that we're all living in. So thank you very much, Alix, for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Erin.
Absolutely. So I have seen that you guys have pivoted really nicely, and you have some really innovative programs coming up. Actually, well, you were already engaged in them. And so tell me about that, how you came up with these ideas that you're playing your concerts, but not in traditional ways.
Right. So our traditional concert season, we offer 6 programs a year, beginning in the fall. Obviously, everyone, or at least a lot of people, are familiar with the holiday pops in December, and then we do a few more in February and in the spring, and ending with the spring pops. And of course, those programs are not possible under the current circumstances. So instead of trying to box ourselves into how do we produce what we had intended to produce in this, you can't, because not only can you not bring an audience in, but you also can't put the orchestra on the stage.
Right.
The stage isn't big enough to spread them out appropriately and safely. So
and the wind and brass sections can't perform with masks on, obviously. So
although one of our trumpet players does, he figured out a way, which I think is amazing.
That's fascinating.
It's fascinating. Yeah, it's in the first program that's available on our website there's video of him, and is he playing through the mask? Yes, he is. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, the wind players do need to be further apart.
Right.
There's been, so our music director, Jonathan McPhee, said, okay, everyone's going virtual and trying to produce something to keep your audience engaged. Some performing arts organizations have just gone dark altogether.
Yeah.
And, that felt like too big a risk, because how do you re-engage the audience a year later? You lose people. And we're just coming off of our 25th anniversary season, where we felt like we've engaged with a lot of people and we had a really successful season going, and we can't just shut the doors. So what Jonathan is primarily his effort that got this together was a program we're calling On Stage at Home. And so we recorded these different segments of musicians playing. Some are solos. There's this striking one of our principal flute player, Ona Jonatite, if I pronounce her last name incorrectly, I apologize. She's standing on the stage alone, and it's at Cary Hall, and it just has this echo. It's extraordinary. And it's this beautiful solo piece. And so there are going to be 3 On Stage at Home concerts. One was in September. That one, the video is available on our website now. The next one for October, the premiere is Saturday, October 24th. And then November is Saturday the 21st. And then there's a Holiday Pops one that is sort of a compilation of greatest hits from our holiday concert archives.
Okay.
But the other 3 are, we have solo players, we have small ensembles of our musicians, and we have a full orchestra finale, which we created by doing these recording sessions with small groups of musicians and then layering those recordings together. And there's no post-production. It's really interesting that Jonathan set out a track of conducting it with the clicks of and so that he could conduct it exactly the same every time.
Yep.
And then conduct those 4 groups, one group and then one group, and then just put them on top of each other. And they cut the video together, and it's the whole orchestra. But the unique thing that we're doing is that during the premiere of each of those programs, there's a live Q&A in between the performances. So like we had the flute player play her gorgeous piece, and then she was live with Jonathan, and people could submit their questions so that she could answer them, live on the air during the premiere. So that that interactive piece is something that, you know, is not as common. And so we're really excited about that. And that was, it worked out really well for the first program. And so, you know, we're fine tuning things, and the October one is going to be a, you know, a step forward from that. You learn a lot with anytime you do something for the first time.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's you know, we've sort of reshaped, and it's you know, it's different kinds of music, but it's opportunities to get to know the orchestra members a little bit better with the Q&A, and to sort of see up close. You know, when you have four string players playing with the piano, you get to see a lot more of what they're doing than you do, you know, sort of from the floor. So.
And I want to make sure that it's clear too. So it's called On Stage at Home, and you have, as you said, there's a live component to it. So it airs at a specific time on those dates that you mentioned. And you're encouraging people to, you know, like go get takeout and sit down and watch this. I think it's great.
Yeah. So I mean, it's important to us to. There's a couple of things about the premiere that are important. One is that, yes, there's the live Q&A aspect of it, which if you watch the recording later, you're watching, you know, that part is fixed. Right. The second part is that, you know, we're still trying to create a sense of community and a sense of there's an event, you know, just like our concerts are. And the idea, our friends at Il Casale have provided, they're giving 10% of takeout orders with the promo code, which is LS to go, that they're donating to the symphony. But it's kind of, you know, get your nice dinner and go to the concert, and just right. The location's a little different, but, you know, trying to recreate that idea and, you know, have that event take place, you know, here in Lexington. And the other thing that was really important to us was to be able to provide these programs free. The On Stage at Home programs through the Holiday Pops, which is as far as we've confirmed we're doing things, those are all free to the community, because we thought that, you know, we all really need ways to gather. We need ways to connect to things that are part of what we consider to be our normal life, right? Not in this time of quarantine. And so providing that free to the community was really important to us as well.
That's amazing. And I'm glad that you made the partnership with Il Casale and that you mentioned it, because especially as the chamber, we love to see those kinds of partnerships across town. But you're right. There's a sense of community that we can't let go of. If we come out of the pandemic and we're all in our little silos in our homes, and that's what we're used to, if that becomes normal, we will lose those kinds of connections and partnerships and a sense of being in this together.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the performing arts have always had that kind of pull for people, right? I mean, it isn't just that I miss the live performance. I miss seeing all the people in the hall beforehand. I miss seeing people at an event afterwards. You certainly miss the live music and that sort of, that scintilla of, you know, excitement that you can only get in a concert hall. But what amazed me, missing all those things, is when we, particularly with the full orchestra finale piece, which ends each of these concerts, it sounds great. I mean, there's terrific recording equipment involved, but I mean, it sounds really good. It's the closest thing to live because it is. I mean, it was recorded live, and it wasn't, you know, changed or edited. It's just those 4 tracks laid on each other, right. So it's that was exciting. I was excited about it before it happened, and then when I saw it for the first time, I couldn't believe how, you know, it was pretty close. It was as close as we're going to get for a little while.
Well, and it's interesting, you talked about missing certain aspects of, I mean, there's the music itself, but the other pieces of the experience around it. I saw that you're also doing these takeout concerts, and yes. On your website, one of the things I read was that the musicians miss playing for people. And I thought that was really interesting. I think you and I are both musicians, and so we get that, but I'm not sure that everybody else realizes for a musician how important it is to perform, and it isn't an ego thing. It isn't, I need people to watch me, but rather it's a connection. You miss playing for an audience. It's not the same as playing alone at home.
There's so many pieces of it, right? I mean, as a musician, you want to share what you do with other people because you know that music brings people so much joy. You know, music connects with people in a deep way that, you know, that just a regular conversation can't. And but you also can't do that on your own at home because so much of music is what happens among the players. You're creating something together, and that's just not possible to do. And, you know, unfortunately, the way all of our technology is, right, there's just a little bit of a delay. You and I couldn't pick up two instruments and just play together.
Right.
I don't know if you've tried to sing happy birthday to a friend over a Zoom call. It's a train wreck, right? Yeah. Because everyone's like, there's a half second here, half second there. And the next thing, it's just chaos. And so it's not something that you can easily produce when we can't be together. So there were a lot of really emotional moments involved with the recording sessions that we did. We didn't have the whole orchestra, but we had small groups, and they were, you know, it was such an odd thing to see that, you know, there's 12, you know, musicians spread across the whole stage with these big gaps, and, you know, they had headphones and there was equipment as well, but and for the string players, they're all wearing masks. Mm-hmm. And you know, they're just, the whole stage is populated by just 10 or 12 or 14 players. And even that, though, that opportunity to play together again, I was at some of those sessions, just, you know, up in the balcony kind of watching, and you could feel how, you know, just playing together and producing music again. It really meant a lot to them. So for the takeout concerts, it's been, you know, it started off as we did an appeal based on a $50,000 challenge pool. We had a group of donors that put up that for a 1-for-1 match. And as a thank you, we said, you know, to each of those donors, would you like to have a musician come and play in your yard for 10 minutes? And sure. And people loved it. Yeah. And so one of those donors said, can we do that again, but maybe a little longer and maybe a couple, you know, and that little concert went really well. And that particular donor had a large outdoor space, and so had, you know, probably had a couple dozen people just sprawled out over the grass, just in, you know, in a big enough space to spread out. And the next thing we knew, you know, a couple of the people who were there said, you know, could we do that I could do that in my yard. And then we said, all right, let's put it up. And I think there have been about 25 of them now. Wow. And what's great about that is that not only it gives the people who come to them a chance to hear live music again. It gives the musicians the chance to create that music and to get out and play, which is what they love to do. It also gives them a gig, because let's be honest, musicians are not making money right now because where are they performing? You know, they get paid when they perform. And so it's been a nice opportunity to engage the musicians as well. So I mean, is that a win-win-win? I don't know how many, but it's been really great. And it's given the people who've hosted the concerts sort of a chance to, again, that same sort of intimacy, to get to know the musicians a little bit better, to see them in a smaller setting. So it's been a lot of fun. I've been to a few of them, and the pictures that I've seen from the others, you know, just, you know, musicians, you know, in the grass. Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad you mentioned about the fact that the musicians aren't working, because I know the symphony started a COVID relief fund to help with the fact that musicians aren't getting paid right now. Were your musicians able to take advantage of unemployment, for example?
You know, traditional unemployment doesn't really apply to contractors, which is what our musicians are. Mm-hmm. But this particular round of federal assistance, you know, there was a big effort to roll out unemployment benefits to contractors. So a number of them were able to take advantage of that, and that's not something that has been available before. So
Right.
it was this time, but it's still relatively limited. So the fund that we initiated was some money out of our budget and some money that we raised from donors, turning in tickets, and actually the Community Endowment of Lexington contributed $5,000 to that fund, which unsolicited, just they heard about the fund, and they're just they're such a great resource to this community, to the nonprofits and the town agencies. They've done so much in just a short time since they've been in Lexington. I think they're incredible. But so with that fund, we were able to pay the musicians most of what they would have made from the March and May 2020 concerts that we were forced to postpone. So it went a long way towards helping then. Now our focus had to return to sustaining the orchestra itself, and the best way that we can sustain our musicians is to continue to have an orchestra where we can employ them to play.
Yeah.
So that's the pivot to on stage at home.
Right.
The sort of the wonderful set of circumstances that led to the takeout concerts. Keep all opportunities to employ them, and so that's been important. We're really trying to. It's another reason to try to find a way to keep your doors open during this strange time, because it means a great deal to the musicians' livelihood as well.
Right. Well, that makes it all the more remarkable too that you're offering them for free. So thank you very much for doing so. I was going to ask
donate to support.
Well, that was my next question. No, really. I mean, we're a nonprofit as well, and I talk to a lot of nonprofits. We have nonprofit organizations as our members as well, and fundraising is a huge challenge in this environment because it's hard to ask people for money when they're hurting as well, and even corporations. I mean, everyone's been affected top to bottom by this. So how have you adjusted your fundraising strategy?
So, really at this point, our appeal to our community, I mean, we have a wonderful base of donors and subscribers who have been incredibly supportive, just leading up to this, and certainly already in the 6 months that we've been in this period. I have to say the strong support that we've received from the community has been really heartening. I think of the orchestra as a big piece of the fabric of Lexington's culture. But I think that, the support we've received has been a real affirmation of that. It's the pivot is really, music sustains us. It's true that there are all kinds of needs right now. There's no way to place a priority. I mean, there's so many people who need so many things, and but there's a real place that the arts have in people's lives. People turn to art and music, art of all kinds, for solace and for joy and for inspiration, and that's hard to put a price on. And so we're just trying to stay here so that we're still here to do what we do. We're doing it in a different way now. We know there's a future where we can go back to doing it the way that we're all used to, but we need the support to continue on. And we hope that people will consider that these on stage at home concerts, consider it like a ticket. And there's during the concert, there's a little tagline that tells you how to donate. And the first concert, we actually received a pretty decent amount of donations. We were hopeful. We've never done this before, so we're like, well, we'll put the info up and hopefully people will support it. And just absolutely wonderful. They did. And so we're if that continues, that'll make it possible for us to keep going with it. It's what's hard about this, and this isn't unique to the symphony or to Lexington, is that we're doing something we've never done before. We have no idea if people will respond, if it'll work. Just, we produced a television show.
Mhm.
We don't produce television shows. We do live concerts in the hall. It's what we know how to do. That's what our staff knows how to do.
Right.
And they've worked incredibly hard. That the technical skill needed for that is not something that any of our folks were. That's not what we hired them to do. We hired them to produce live concerts.
Right.
So it's that was a big mountain to climb. And hats off to we have our general manager, Lauren Busa, our music director, Jonathan McPhee, and a few other folks we engaged with who just learned, a whole new set of skills to make that possible. And so yeah, it's, we're all in uncharted territory. We're excited that it seems to be going well. And I'm really looking forward to the October concert because we're, refining the process. The first one was great, and going forward we can continue to step forward with it.
Well, I was going to ask you a creative question, in fact. So you and I were speaking before we started the recording today about the fact that the program for seasons gets set well in advance. And I'm curious, with the lineup of the on stage at home concerts, what is it, the program that Jonathan had set, a year ago, or has he changed the program to reflect the pandemic, or just to reflect the realities of, as you said, the different way of delivering the music?
It's a completely different program. The programs they're full orchestra, and anywhere from 2, 3, 4 pieces depending. The last concert we did was in February, and it was Beethoven's Third Symphony and the Dvorak Cello Concerto, full orchestra on the stage. Such a fantastic concert, so good. The cello soloist who was with us then is making an appearance in our November concert. She's playing a solo for us.
Oh, great.
For on stage at home. So that's great because she's terrific. Jennifer Kletzel is her name. But so right, these programs are, as I mentioned before, they're just, it's a solo player, it's a small ensemble. It's actually one of the nice aspects of each one is we have a musician from Lexington High School playing with, the last one was Luke Lee. He's a violinist. He's now at Eastman, and he played this wonderful piece with our pianist Paul Carlson. And each of the concerts features an LHS musician. I think they're all playing with the pianist, but they're small groups. Either the solo player or the small ensemble, and then the finale is one movement of a symphony. A symphony typically has 4 movements, but we did one, and that one to create with the recording in sections, and then on the back end just cutting the video, because they videotaped all the recording sessions, but then you have to say, okay, well, the trumpets are playing. You hear the trumpets most prominently now. Where's the trumpet in the video? So yeah. The video production aspect of it is painstaking, and just to produce that one movement of the symphony was a lot. And also, we can't keep people in the enclosed space for all that long. So we recorded 2 takes of the movement of the Schumann Symphony that we did for the September concert. And then you gotta clear people out and sanitize everything. And I mean, that was a whole, that process was unlike anything anyone had ever been involved in. But checking in the musicians and keeping them spread out in the hall before they came in. But it was, so it's all different music. I don't think there's no overlap with anything that was planned before. And I know that in speaking to Jonathan, one of his goals with the programming was to pick things that were, things that are uplifting, things that feel good at the end of listening to it, that are like the piece that Luke Lee played with us, it's this Tarantella. It's a super fast violin solo. You get to the end of it, it was just awesome, and it's just a neat feeling. So the music is primarily chosen to be reach out to the audience and give them something to feel good about, and something uplifting, something that just really warms you up a little bit. And I know that was the focus in choosing it. But it's one of the things that is kind of cool about it is it's music we wouldn't normally be playing, right? I mean, certainly the musicians play in small groups separately from the orchestra, but that's not what we produce on our stage for an orchestra concert. So these are these smaller ensembles, and sort of shows off how great our musicians are, but also, it shares a different kind of repertoire with our audience. And one of the silver linings is that these virtual concerts can be viewed by anyone, not just in Lexington, just you get online. And, I have a cousin who viewed it from the Adirondacks, and we had folks tuned in from all over the country, friends of the symphony, friends of the players. And, we're hoping to, so that's one unique thing that's a plus, is that, we can reach a wider audience this way.
No, that's excellent. That is a really cool aspect of it. So we also were talking about the fact that nobody can really plan anything out past the end of this year, but assuming that you are able to go back to live concerts after the first of the year, let's all hope that that's true. Will you resume the program that had been planned, or will you be coming up with yet another program?
So, we have sort of an annual timeline for when we do, there's sort of a yearly process, and everything got a little bit delayed this year. And we did announce our season as being, the 4 on stage at home programs, September, October, November, December. And then if conditions permit, we'll return to Cary Hall for February, April, and May concerts. Now, we said that, we would make an announcement by December 1st about what that's going to be. The return to Cary Hall might just be the musicians.
Sure.
With a limited audience, with no audience, we just don't know yet. We put a plan in place to sort of like, all right, we'll plant that flag and say, this is what we hope to do. And, we'd like to find a way to produce those programs as planned, but, we'll just have to wait and see. It's a really hard thing, because even if the governor says you can have a small audience come back in, are people going to want to come and be there live? Maybe it's not the right time. And so it's just hard to make any of those decisions. And that part's frustrating, because we usually have things planned out months ahead. And just to say now that, we're a couple months from being able to decide what's happening in 4 months, that's
no, I completely understand. We're all in this situation.
We are, and so you can't focus too much on it, right? Because it's like, well, we'll just so we're discussing what the options might be, but I'm sure there are some options we haven't even thought of yet. But it's just it's a big wait and see right now. We're hoping that we can find a way, but if we don't, we'll pivot again, and we'll find something else we can do. But I mean, we will definitely continue on with the season. We just aren't quite sure of the where. The where and the how, not clear. Will the season continue? Yes, absolutely.
Well, I was going to say, I have absolute faith that you will find a way to continue the season, because you already have. You've already been so creative and produced new ways of interacting with the symphony. So I'm very confident that if that needs to happen again, that will happen again.
Yeah, I mean, we've had, with all of the unusual decisions, the board of directors at the symphony is a tremendous group of people. We've had to make a lot of decisions that were completely new for us. And I mean, every organization has faced this, right? But, you know, the board has been really, they've been responsive, they've been responsible, and, you know, the donors have been incredibly supportive. The musicians have been flexible, and the musicians are, to a person, you know, just, they support the orchestra. They really enjoy playing with this, because, you know, they're not, none of them are just Lexington Symphony players.
Sure, right.
Right. They're teachers, they're musicians who play in many other ensembles, and but they are, what we found is that, you know, there's this real sense of family within the Lexington Symphony itself, and you know, that's been a tremendous asset to us as we try to figure this out. So I feel like, you know, with that team in place, and with, you know, Jonathan McPhee, our music director, and our general manager, Lauren, who's, you know, tremendous, and Jeff Levinson, our executive director, it's just, it's a good team. You know, we're lucky to have a good team in place when things went upside down. So yeah, I'm hopeful that we'll figure it out. I just, that uncertainty is hard for everyone, you know, not just an orchestra. I mean, there are so many other things in this world that are harder. But it's a challenge every organization is facing. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But I'm glad that you have met that challenge head on. As you said, some
so far
performing arts organizations have just stayed dark. In fact, just before we started talking, I got a headline on my phone saying that Broadway has decided to continue staying closed, and it's over a $6 billion loss, that the theaters are just not open. And it affects a huge swath of the economy. I mean, it isn't
enormous number of people.
Performers. Yeah. It's all of the staff. It's all of the adjacent businesses, the restaurants that rely on concert goers and theater goers, and it has these huge ripple effects. So I'm glad that the Lexington Symphony is surviving, and surviving by staying in front of us rather than just hunkering down and not being there, not seeing it.
Yeah, I think we're very lucky that, you know, we can, in some ways, being, you know, not being the Boston Symphony, and not being the Metropolitan Opera, which, you know, they have enormous numbers of staff and facilities to maintain, and you know, we don't have that. We don't own Cary Hall. You know, we rent that, and our musicians are contractors because we have a 6-concert season. You know, we aren't, you know, the BSO, they're employees, and
right.
It's, you know, the thing that is ominous for the performing arts is that those bigger places, which you consider to be institutions, I mean, you hope they can all survive. I hope they can, but probably not. And the problem is that you can't look forward and say, well, okay, but in 6 months, if we can just hang on for 6 more months, it's going to be all right. But, you know, no one knows that. And so there is actually a piece of luck in being not one of these big, large institutional performing arts organizations that just, they're big, and the weight of their institution is hard in this time. I mean, yeah, $6 billion loss is just mind-boggling, and it's altering the industry forever, or at least for the foreseeable future. And you know, it's hard to deal in those unknowns. Hard for everyone.
Right. So to end on a more positive note.
Yeah, let's do that. It got dark.
Remind us the date for the October, the October on stage and home, because I think people, if they missed the September one, they definitely are going to want to get in on the October one.
Yes. So the October one is Saturday, October 24th, and November is Saturday, November 21st. and Holiday Pops, if I'm correct, is Saturday, December 18th, but they are all listed on our website, lexingtonsymphony.org. And if you miss September, you can still see it. The video is available on the website as well.
Excellent. Well, thank you again for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thank you. No, it was delightful. Thank you, Erin.
I had a good time, and I need to make sure I see the October concert.
That's right. Order your takeout. Make a night of it.
That's right. All right. Thanks, Alix.
Thanks so much, Erin.